Hi, this is Mark Henry, coming to you from the deep south of Louisiana. Carnival season, Mardi Gras parades have been running for a couple of weeks now, and will culminate with this upcoming Tuesday, otherwise known as Fat Tuesday. That's what Mardi Gras means. And by the way, in case you all watched the news, we actually had something that was tragic happen this past weekend in Endymion Parade. We had a car who drove into the crowd and injured 21 people. I think a few of them were severely injured. So if any of you YouTubers are Mardi Gras revelers or plan on going to parades, just be safe. Okay, so let's move on. I want to talk to you all today about the subject of the magical diary or magical journal. Now, the magical diary, I'll just start with that, is basically a documentation. It could be in a book form or it could be electronic format. Basically, your thoughts, experiences, and experiments with magic. Now, and I want to distinguish that from what's called the Book of Shadows, which is part of Wicca. And the Book of Shadows is different than a magical diary journal because a Book of Shadows contains spells and rituals, and they even can be handed down from the coven leader, the priest or priestess, to the practitioners, the witches, and the coven. So that's different than a magical diary or journal because though the magical diary or journal is more a process, it's more, okay, what is my own inner experiences, my outer experiments, and what happened as a result of that. And that's important to keep track of that for reasons that I'm going to speak of in a minute. Now let's talk about how to actually design this. What you're going to want to do is with your documentation, you're going to want to treat it just like if you had a regular diary or journal. You would want to have the date at the top, maybe the time. That's so you can reference later. Okay, so when did this happen? When did I make this notation? You're going to want to be very specific about what happened, your thoughts, experiences, experiments, details. Don't just say X happened. You say X happened and Y and Z also followed it. Also, if you are applying an intervention, some type of magic to produce a certain outcome, write down the time that elapsed between what you did, your intervention, and the ultimate outcome. Now, why exactly is this important? Because I know some people don't do it. I know for myself is that I can have a thought experience or experiment and I'll do it. But then, 2 weeks later, I may forget about it. And I would like to remember, just because, sometimes we're busy in our lives, we follow one thing. It's usually what's in front of us is what we attend to. And we sometimes, through lack of attention or a faulty memory or for whatever reason, we just don't look back at those types of things. But this will allow you to look back, and it will be very clear if you do it correctly about what happened. Also, another reason why this is a good idea is that some people, and I'm not in the business of trying to convince anybody about the validity of magic or paranormal experiences, but let's say that you are asked once in a while, okay, so why do you think magic is real? Why do you think the paranormal has validity? Why is this important? So you can, if you had a magical journal, you could actually go back and have an answer for these people. Well, I had this experience once where I did this, and then kind of strange that this happened as a result. Now, sometimes you can never convince somebody, but if you wanted to have an answer for somebody, if you actually wanted to engage them in that type of conversation, you would actually have ammunition. In fact, if you had your journal and you went through it every once in a while, you might have 10 experiences, and that person would be left looking dumb. Not to mention, once you start talking about your experiences, and not necessarily that is the way that it is, sometimes that makes it harder for those people to actually argue with you. So that's another reason. Also, if you are the type of person who once in a while, for whatever reason, starts to doubt yourself, starts to lose motivation in doing your magical practice, your meditation, or whatever, this would be a good thing for you to track back and say, hey, I can't say that I'm a really bad magician because, 6 months ago, I made this extraordinary thing happen. It wasn't that something. Of course, if you don't have the journal, you might get into that frame of mind and it might stay there and linger. So this is actually for your well-being too. And it's just good to look at your progress as well. You can maybe have one and a magical journal and look back 2 years ago, and now it's 2 years later, and you're saying, wow, I came a long way. And isn't that wonderful? That I'm actually seeing the fruits of my labor. That I can see where I've come from and how I've grown as a magician, witch, sorcerer, or whatever label you identify as. Alright, well that's about it. Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe. I also have a Patreon page which I'm going to provide a link for in case you want some additional information that I don't put on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. I always put some of this stuff, but I will put things on there if you want to become a subscriber that other people don't have access to. Alright, have a good night.